My name is Naomi Reynolds. I am 35 years old, and I currently reside in a peaceful suburban area of New England. I was born to an American father and a Japanese mother. My father was employed by a prominent pharmaceutical company based in Boston. He was tasked with establishing a branch office in Japan, which is where he met my mother. 30 years ago, he decided to bring both my mother and me back to the US with him. At the time, I was just 5 years old. My mother was initially bewildered by the sudden change in environment, but my father reassured her, saying, "Here, you can receive the best education." My father was dedicated to his work, and my mother, despite being in a strange land, raised me. Gradually, both my mother and I adapted to life here. After maturing in the US and completing my academic journey, I managed to secure a position at a well-known advertising agency. Even now, after having gotten married and having a child, I continue to work. We lead a comfortable life, thanks to our efforts. My husband, Gabriel, holds the position of a senior manager at a prestigious investment bank. He is an exceptional spouse who consistently prioritizes our family above all else. We are blessed with a wonderful son named Jefferson, who is currently 7 years old and energetically attends a local public elementary school as a second grader. Although he has an allergy to eggs, Jefferson is a bright and well-mannered child, earning the affection and love of everyone around him. On the surface, our family life might appear calm and uneventful. However, beneath that serene exterior lies a more complicated reality, particularly concerning my relationship with my stepmother, Keiko. Keiko is my father's second wife. I lost my real mother when I was 10 years old, and I vividly remember that time. My mother loved flowers and would take me to botanical gardens on weekends. "Naomi, what's the name of this flower?" she would ask with a smile, a voice that still echoes in my ears. I watched helplessly as her smile was ravaged by illness and she passed away abruptly. The separation was too sudden. A year after her death, my father remarried Keiko. At that time, my father was suddenly left alone to raise me, and he was desperate. Seeing him struggle to balance work and household duties, I, as a fifth grader, tried my best to be a good child. So when he announced his remarriage to Keiko, I simply responded, "Okay, I understand," despite feeling complex emotions inside. At the time, she brought along her 12-year-old son, Akira. I later learned from my father that their meeting wasn't coincidental. Keiko had majored in English literature in Japan and worked as a high school teacher before coming to study in the US. After marrying a Japanese man she met here, they divorced a few years ago, and her ex-husband returned to Japan. Since then, she had been raising Akira alone while teaching Japanese at a language school in Boston. My father and Keiko met when he was enrolling me in the language school so that I wouldn't forget Japanese. They spoke for the first time in a classroom after school. As they were both single parents, they quickly bonded over the shared hardships of raising children alone. My father was particularly moved by Keiko's determination to live vigorously as a single mother in a foreign land. "Naomi, Keiko is truly strong. She left Japan and is living here alone, raising Akira with such determination. I am inspired by her way of life," he told me the day he decided to remarry. For Keiko, marrying my father perhaps signified a release from years of hardship. It freed her from financial worries and allowed her to provide a better education for Akira, and more importantly, it gave her hope for a happy life with a new family. Maybe her expectations were too high initially. At first, Akira and I played together often. He was fluent in Japanese and would kindly correct my poor language skills. We even shared ice cream after school. However, that relationship didn't last long. Keiko tried to treat Akira and me equally, but it was only superficial. "Naomi, have you finished your homework?" "Akira has already finished." "Akira is much more reliable, isn't he?" She would compare, slowly driving a wedge between us. My father tried desperately to forge a new family dynamic with me, Keiko, and Akira, but it was never easy. Our awkward family relationship lasted for years. Still, my father acted as a buffer, somehow maintaining our family bond. However, after his death, our relationship quickly deteriorated. The trigger may have been Akira's divorce, which had started a few months before my father passed away. Akira now lives with Keiko and his daughter, Michelle, who is 8 years old and in the same grade as Jefferson. Akira's marriage, which occurred 8 years ago, was to Erica, a woman of Japanese-American descent who worked at the same large corporation. My father and Keiko were overjoyed, believing it to be an excellent match. The wedding was held at a top-tier hotel, and Keiko proudly showed off the photos to her friends. Despite the superficial glamour, a rift developed between Akira and Erica. Erica was an ambitious career woman who wished to continue working full-time even after their daughter, Michelle, was born. However, balancing childcare and work did not go smoothly, and their marital relationship began to sour. Additionally, Akira struggled to advance in his career. Surrounded by peers who regarded his highly capable wife with high expectations, the pressure on him intensified daily. The disparity in their living standards also cornered him. Why can't you get promoted? Think about Michelle's education expenses. Such words from Erica gradually cornered Akira. One day, Akira made a significant mistake during an important presentation, causing considerable losses for his company. This event led him to decide to leave his job. However, this decision caused a definitive rift in his relationship with Erica. The divorce mediation was challenging. Ultimately, Erica, citing a lack of time for childcare, agreed that Michelle would primarily live with her father. When Akira returned to his parental home with Michelle, he had lost a considerable amount of weight and seemed like a different person, completely devoid of confidence. Keiko was heartbroken seeing her son in such a state and began taking care of him devotedly. "Akira, have you found a job?" she would ask, to which he would just reply, "Not yet." However, about 6 months later, Akira suddenly announced to his mother that he had secured a job at a major investment firm. Keiko was overjoyed and proudly shared the news with relatives. However, I felt something was off. Akira seemed unchanged from before. One day, I accidentally saw Akira working at a coffee shop. He looked panicked and pleaded, "Please don't tell Mom." It turned out he had lied about the corporate job to avoid worrying her. "Akira, a client of my company, is looking for someone who can speak Japanese with management experience," I said quietly. Initially bewildered, Akira looked into my eyes and asked, "Why? Would you consider me?" "Because we're family. Besides, don't you want to show Michelle the kind of father you used to be?" From that day, I began supporting Akira's job hunt in secret. I helped revise his resume, practiced interviews with him, and even wrote recommendation letters. We were making progress together, unnoticed by anyone else. With just 2 weeks until Christmas, our family was approaching a significant turning point. The calm of our middle-class neighborhood was gradually disrupted by seasonal events and family gatherings. I felt that Keiko was looking at me more critically than ever before. The difference in how she treated her grandchildren was stark. To her, I was merely a stepdaughter, and Jefferson was just a step-grandson. Gabriel tried to comfort me, suggesting that it might be Keiko's way of showing love. However, her recent behavior had become more blatant, and the differential treatment of the grandchildren was becoming unbearable at family gatherings. During family photo sessions, Keiko would prominently place Michelle and almost exclude Jefferson. Always conscious of appearances, she sometimes referred to me as the daughter of the previous wife, and would introduce Jefferson to others as the child of my deceased husband's previous wife and her husband. I always felt uncomfortable. While Keiko enthusiastically introduced Akira and Michelle to friends, Jefferson and I were treated as if invisible. Nonetheless, Jefferson and Michelle played well together at school. Recently, a teacher told me that during lunch, Michelle had swapped her vegetables with Jefferson to accommodate his egg allergy. Perhaps the complex emotions of adults don't matter to children. "Mom, it's fun reading books at the library with Michelle," Jefferson would say with an innocent smile, tightening my heart. I wondered how long their pure relationship could last. What was particularly painful were Keiko's words referring to Jefferson as a problem child because of his allergy. At Keiko's birthday party 3 months ago, during the selection of family photos for display, she chose images where Akira and Michelle were prominently featured, relegating us to the corners. There weren't any better photos. Jefferson looks so gloomy in this one. "Maybe it's because of his allergy," she remarked. I will never forget how Jefferson's shoulders shook at those words. The disparity in their gifts also grew more noticeable over the years. Michelle received the latest tablet for her birthday, while Jefferson got a set of used picture books. The difference was evident to anyone. The same was true on social media. Keiko's Facebook overflowed with photos of Michelle's piano recitals, horse riding classes, and swimming competitions. But not a single photo from Jefferson's school festival was posted. After my father's death, I continued to send money to the household anonymously, fulfilling his wishes, but Keiko was unaware of this. Her cold attitude had begun to pain my heart. Amidst this, Gabriel had to suddenly travel to New York for an important meeting, just 2 days before our family's Christmas party at the family home. The night before he left, Gabriel took my hand and asked with apologetic eyes, "Are you sure you'll be okay with Keiko?" "Yes, I'll be fine. Don't worry." 2 days later, we prepared meticulously. We bought Keiko's favorite apple pie from Whole Foods, and Jefferson dressed in a navy blazer with a white shirt. As he adjusted his collar repeatedly in the car, he asked, "Do you think Grandma will be happy?" Watching him, my heart tightened. We arrived at Keiko's house exactly at 6 p.m. This was also the house filled with memories of my father. Upon opening the door, we were greeted by the aroma of roasted turkey, the sweet scent of sweet potato casserole, and the warm smells of cinnamon and nutmeg. Christmas dinner was ready. As we were led into the living room, I immediately noticed something was off. The dining table was elegantly set, but there were only 4 seats, and there was no place for Jefferson. "Oh, I forgot." Keiko's voice seemed intentional. "Jefferson, you'll have to eat on the living room sofa." The room froze at her words. Michelle looked confused, and then Keiko shockingly added, "My real grandchild is only Akira's child. You are just the child of the other wife's daughter." It felt as though time had stopped. Tears sparkled in Jefferson's eyes, and his small body trembled. Akira turned away, and Michelle could not hide her shock. At that moment, something snapped inside me. For 2 years since my father's death, I had tried to mend our relationship with her. The monthly financial support was also to honor a promise to my father. But I could no longer endure it. "Jefferson, let's go home," I said, taking my son's small hand and standing up. The apple pie we brought remained untouched on the table. The ride home was silent. I could see tears welling up on my face in the rearview mirror. During the drive, Jefferson did not speak a word. I could feel his hand gripping my arm tighter and tighter. When we arrived home, the clock read 7:15 p.m. The sound of the garage door closing seemed louder than usual. The silence after turning off the engine underscored our heartache. "Mommy." Jefferson's voice trembled. His small body curled up in the passenger seat looked about to crumble. "It's okay, Jefferson. Let's spend tonight, just the 2 of us," I reassured him. As soon as we entered the house, Jefferson broke down crying. His cries tore at my heart. "Is it my fault? Did I do something to make Grandma hate me?" I immediately hugged him tightly. "No, you did nothing wrong. Absolutely nothing." We walked over to the sofa in the living room. I tried to stay calm, but every time I felt my son's small body tremble, Anger welled up inside me. "Jefferson, just wait a moment," I said, and headed to the kitchen to make some hot cocoa. I took marshmallows from the cupboard and poured them into his favorite blue mug. Even from the living room, I could hear his soft sobs. I brought over a soft blanket with star patterns that Gabriel had bought, draping it over Jefferson's shoulders. "Here's some hot cocoa." I put in lots of marshmallows, I said. Jefferson nodded timidly and reached for the mug. His gesture tightened my chest again. "Jefferson, can I tell Daddy about what happened today?" After a moment, he nodded slightly. "What if Daddy gets angry? Daddy will always be on your side, Jefferson. We are family," I assured him as I picked up my phone. "Hello, Naomi? What's wrong at this hour?" Gabriel's voice from a hotel in New York was immediately filled with concern. "Gabriel, we went to Keiko's house today." While trying to remain as calm as possible, I explained each event in detail, the arrangement of the seats, how Jefferson was treated, and Keiko's words. While explaining, I could hear Gabriel's breathing grow rough over the phone. "I can't believe it. Keiko's behavior has been getting stranger since your father died, but I never imagined it would go this far." His voice mixed anger and sadness. "I'm coming home right away. The meeting is over. I'm booking a flight now." "But you were supposed to come back on tomorrow's flight, right?" "Family comes first. I'm coming home right away." I heard the typing on a computer through the phone. "Naomi, let's stop the monthly support. We've done enough for your father's sake." "Gabriel, Akira should take care of Keiko. We have our own family to look after." "Okay. Do you want to talk to Jefferson?" When Jefferson took the phone, he looked anxious as he held the receiver. "Jefferson, listen. Daddy is very proud of you. You are our precious son. I will definitely be home tomorrow," his father reassured him. Tears welled up in Jefferson's eyes again, but they seemed to be tears of a different kind. That night, after Jefferson fell asleep, I found myself staring at a photo of my father. I remembered how desperately he had tried to bridge the gap between me and Keiko. He had hoped until the end that we would become a real family. The next morning at 7 a.m., the doorbell rang. Jefferson was still asleep. I hurried downstairs and opened the door, only to find Keiko standing there. But this was not the Keiko I knew, with perfect makeup and hairstyle. Her bare face showed deep fatigue, her hair was disheveled, and her hands were slightly trembling. "Naomi, I need to talk," she said, her voice lacking its usual arrogance and instead sounding shaky. "Please come in," I said as I led her into the living room, fighting a mix of complex emotions, anger, distrust, and sadness. As we passed by my father's memorial photo, Keiko paused for a moment. "Would you like some coffee?" I offered. "Thank you," she replied, her voice thin and trembling. When I returned to the living room with the coffee, only the sound of the coffee maker broke the heavy silence. I placed 2 mugs on a tray and returned to the room, where Keiko was staring blankly out the window. When I handed her the coffee, deep fatigue was etched on her profile. "I'm sorry," she began with a formal apology. "I was wrong," she added, hesitating with her words. Keiko pulled out an envelope from her bag. When she opened it, it was neatly lined with records of the financial support I had been sending. "Last night, Akira told me the monthly support came from you." I always thought it was from him. He knew all along. "Every time I mistreated you, it hurt him." Akira had confessed everything to her the night before. About the financial support from me, his silent struggles, the lie about his reemployment, how Jefferson and Michelle got along at school, and how I had been helping him with his job hunt. I was so ashamed I couldn't sleep all night to think that you were supporting us all along, and yet It seemed she had something else she couldn't say. I waited silently for her to continue. The ticking of the clock sounded louder than usual. Why didn't you tell me?" "I always thought that Akira was the one struggling for us." But it was you. It was my promise to Dad, I responded, and Keiko's body shook. On the last day my father was in the hospital, I was alone with him. He was frail from chemotherapy and weakly held my hand. Naomi, I'm sorry. I've always made things hard for you. That's not true, Dad. Yes, I know. You've always been patient, considering my relationship with Keiko. But you don't need to anymore. Just promise me one thing. What? Please look after Keiko. She's been through a divorce and struggled to raise Akira alone. Marrying me was supposed to be a new life for her. My father sighed deeply. She depended almost entirely on my income for her future in America. She'll really struggle without me. About $1,000 a month. That would help her maintain her current lifestyle. But why not Akira? Akira is still trying to get his life together. He can't afford to look after his mother as well. Naomi, I think you can. His expression was painfully earnest. I could only nod silently. He was worried about you until the end. He wanted me to love you like my own daughter, but I couldn't, Keiko said. After my father's death, her financial issues became severe. Continuing the lavish lifestyle had drained her savings, and she couldn't even afford the initial fee for the upscale retirement home she had planned to enter. Her pride kept her from seeking help, and she maintained herself by believing the financial support was from Akira. You've managed to balance work and parenting so well. Your family is so harmonious. In contrast, Akira failed in his job and his marriage. I blamed myself for his upbringing and struggled. Pride and desperation made me act irrationally, especially towards Jefferson. Her voice broke off, and she began to cry more intensely. I was terrible to Jefferson. It's unforgivable. Just then, the sound of small footsteps descending the stairs could be heard. Grandma? Jefferson's voice froze the room. Keiko slowly looked up, tears still marking her makeup-free face. Jefferson, I'm truly sorry for what I said yesterday. She stood up tremblingly and knelt in front of him. I'm really sorry. Grandma was wrong. Jefferson hesitantly approached Keiko. The room was filled with a mysterious tranquility, as if my father was watching over the two of them. Just then, the sound of the front door opening could be heard. Naomi, Jefferson. It was Gabriel's voice. He must have caught an earlier flight. Gabriel hurried into the living room and was at a loss for words at the sight before him, his stepmother kneeling on the floor, his wife in tears, and his son looking anxious. What's going on? A long conversation ensued about Keiko's financial situation, the reasons behind her past actions, and most importantly, the future of the family. Gabriel listened quietly, but attentively. Why didn't you talk to us sooner? I was embarrassed. I didn't want to burden you. Aren't we family? We could have figured out a solution together. Hearing this, Keiko began to cry again, but these tears seemed different. Let's discuss the future as a family, I added, and Gabriel nodded. I was feeling a whirlwind of complex emotions inside. I had fulfilled my promise to my father, but I was unsure about how to move forward. Sensing my conflicted emotions, Keiko spoke up. I'm going to change my lifestyle so I won't have to depend on you. Saying this, she smiled, looking as if a weight had been lifted off her shoulders. Keiko! I was touched by her resolve and took her hand. Let's gradually become a real family. Maybe someday we can fulfill Dad's wishes. 6 months have passed since then. I stopped sending money to Keiko. She gave up on her plans for the retirement home and chose a simpler life. Akira also got hired at a company I introduced him to, and he is gradually moving towards independence. While we haven't fully reconciled, at least Jefferson is starting to build a new relationship with his grandmother. It might not be exactly as my father had wished, but perhaps we are starting to find our own way of being a family.